Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 8 of our custom pizza truck build. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, I'll put a link to those in the description below. Today we are going to be starting off at the rear of the truck. If you remember back in episode 2, when I cut off the rear frame of the truck, I cut it off with just a plasma cutter to get rid of the excess 4 feet or so, along with the lift gate that I wasn't going to use. But I was left with a jagged rear frame and no rear bumper. So let's jump right into solving both of those issues. Alright guys, I've got a set of taillights that I need to install. Now I don't have any mounts for this, of course, so I need to make my own. I would like them to be as close to the frame rail as possible and as close to being flush with this 1/4 inch piece of sheet that I just welded up. Let me show you what I've got in mind. Alright, so I've got a couple pieces of 2-inch square tubing that are cut to 14 inches. What I need to do is cap the end because the other end will be welded up to the frame of the truck. Now I don't want to just cap this off with just a piece of steel because I think that'll be a little bit ugly. So what I'm going to do is radius the edge here. So I'll start off, I found this is just a perfect shape for what I'm looking for, and I'll put just a nice little mark right there. If you notice, the end has to be a little bit in because this piece of steel is going to rotate around it and then weld it up. And if it's not far enough in, this piece won't end up being long enough, and then it will be ugly. So now all I have to do is grind this little section out, curve this piece of steel around it, and then seam weld it, and then we'll be good to go. Alright, let's get these bumpers and wheels painted. I'm starting off here with a self-etching primer to cover up any bare metal that I've got, and then after that I'm going to lay down a coat of TCP saddle brown metallic paint with my little 3M AccuSpray paint gun. Now obviously it is not ideal to be painting outside like this. If you've been following along for a while, you'd know I had an inflatable paint booth in Phoenix that worked out pretty well, but I did sell that before the move. I didn't buy a new one because I was planning on turning my small garage into a paint booth, but I actually think I'm going to buy another one of those inflatable ones because they've got a few new designs that I like a little bit better, and I don't actually do a ton of paint. Now the two biggest issues with painting outside are dust and bugs. If you can find a windless day like it was today, that makes the likelihood of dust a lot lower, and then if you paint in the middle of the day, that makes the likelihood of bugs a lot lower. So I was able to get a nice little coat over these before any bugs or dust found their way onto them, and I think they came out fantastic. Alright, next up is finishing the surface window, and that starts with my tube roller here. I have it set up with a 1/2-inch square tubing die so that I can turn a 20-foot stick of steel into this little coil, and then I will cut a section of this coil out to make a nice little bracket for the lift strut to mount to. Now I needed to move the lift strut farther away from the service window so that when it's opened it will lift it up higher, and I also needed to distribute the weight so that it would be a little bit stronger, and having a nice radius piece of steel accomplished both of those. Next up is addressing this doorknob. I had a few people wondering if I was going to leave this on the vehicle because they thought that it looked a little bit out of place, and it is out of place. This is just a spare knob that I had for the barn dominium project. This is the one that is going to be on the truck. It has a keyed entry instead of just that little slot for like an inside house bathroom. That way it can be a little bit more secure, and I think the style fits the truck a little bit better. The issue that I'm having is right here. This little guy sticks out just a little bit too far. You see, I did have to shave down these screws to make it fit just because the gap here is a little bit tight. So what I'm going to do is, I've already got it marked out here, you see. I'll cut the steel, I'm going to recess this in just a little bit where I want it, and then I'll get the doorknob mounted. Alright guys, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for making it this far. I hope you're enjoying this build series. Next week's episode should be a lot of fun. There is a ton of welding, and then I get a shipment that includes 2 refrigerators, a prep service station, the ceiling, and the floor. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.